Waking up and walking down the boardwalk in the morning when the world is kind of opening its eyes again and everything's quite quiet. You hear somebody coming down the boardwalk towards you, and the wood decking is just so nice that you can feel people moving along towards you, and you get to say good morning and begin the day. I don't think there was a better way to start a day than that.
It was a beautiful, beautiful setting and peaceful and idyllic.
Even in like the roughest times, that place is still really magical and makes you want to come back.
Ripples, CNIB Lake Joe. CNIB Lake Joe is located in the heart of Muskoka. In 2021, the camp celebrates its 60th anniversary of being the home away from home for campers living with sight loss. The ripple effects of the camp's influence have been felt for generations.
What keeps me going back to Lake Joe is the atmosphere, the people, like everything about Lake Joe.
My name is Taylor Gatto. It was such a welcoming and wonderful experience. I made some absolutely incredible friends that are still my friends to this day.
My name is Julia Jansen, and I'm here with my dad, Jonathan. It was an amazing experience. I didn't know what to expect going in. Swimming and tubing, those were probably my favorite things to do at Lake Joe. And as well, the talent shows I loved. Please, I know you're in there.
My name is Robert Froome. Camp is really empowering for people, and people come to camp wanting to have fun. We go during Adult Week, and one of the high points of Adult Week is we all get on the bus, and away we go to McTier, to the Legion. And everybody, at some point in the evening, the whole group gets up and dances. And if you've never danced in a conga line with a group of deafblind people, you have not lived.
My name is Derek Thompson, and I've been blessed to be a part of the Lake Joe community for 35 years. I was quickly exposed to, it's not my vision that's going to hold me back, it's my attitude. You know, I can never speak highly enough to anybody about how valuable that is for my life experience.
Nancy Massa is a single mother and has been coming to the camp since first attending 5 years ago.
Oh, there's so many favorite memories. Just the whole energy of the place. I felt like I was home. I'm like, sign me up. I'm coming every year and I'm bringing my kids.
CNIB Lake Joe is recognized across Canada and internationally as a leader in accessibility and inclusion. Barb Ennis is a lifer at Lake Joe and has been coming to the camp since the early 60s.
In the 1960s, my mom was hired as the relief nurse and would take me because I was little, and I would run around like I owned the place. The first thing I remember is the boardwalk. It went on forever, and I just remember running up and down it like a little terror. There was a great pathway along the beach that took you to the big dock. And over the years, they have added a handrail made out of PCP pipe so that you don't get slivers. It's not wooden. And so if you need a little more support or you want to be guided on your own towards the boathouse, you just follow that handrail around the curve of the bay and takes you directly onto the dock in a safe manner.
Over the years, CNIB Lake Joe has offered people of all ages who are living with sight loss an opportunity to experience life the way it should be, without all the stress that their disability might put on their everyday life.
My name is Alicia Chenier. For me, Lake Joe was honestly a breath of fresh air, and it was a place where at a young age, where me and my mom didn't have to be scared of the accessibility.
I'm Emma Van Dyke. Upon arrival, when you walk into the Welcome Center, they have maps that are tactile. Someone made it with some crafts that you can feel where the paths are in each building, and everywhere around the camp. If there's signs, there's large font or braille.
I'm 7, so my room might be on the other side. I definitely found the camp very accessible. There was a lot of braille around, which was really nice. And just being able to walk along the rails to get from my cabin to the dining hall, that was really, really amazing.
I'm Stella Trudeau. It was really nice to go to a camp where I could walk by myself and just know where I was because everything was just perfectly laid out.
I'm an architect, and I admire good design. And the camp was brilliant in the way it was set out.
CNIB Lake Joe has a way of bringing people together, especially around the campfire.
I'm Penny Harton. It helped me to interact with other people in a way where I wasn't the only visually impaired person in the room. And often, you know, if you live in a small community, you're considered to be a little special, right? Because you may be the only visually impaired student. And at Lake Joe, you're one of many.
I remember for a long time when I was growing up, I always wanted to meet other people with my age that were blind, but I didn't really ever have any friends that were blind. And I remember going to camp and being super excited to meet other people my age who shared the same experiences. We could have conversations about things that we could relate to that no one else would understand because no one else has been in those experiences. So that was just so amazing for me. That was one of my favorite parts of camp as well.
For some, the experience at CNIB Lake Joe opens their eyes to what life could be like living with sight loss.
I have to fight back some personal emotion because hearing at 14 that I might be totally blind for the rest of my life, it was very difficult. My family will say I became angry, and I was not the same person that they knew. Being introduced to Lake Joe allowed me to become a part of the blind community and recognize my perception of blindness was wrong.
So before I attended Lake Joe, I was really insecure about my sight loss. I would be really offended if someone had asked me about it. But right when we arrived to Lake Joe, we were greeted by someone who had sight loss. And then we were given a tour by someone who had sight loss. And already this changed my perception. I gained a little more confidence. And then we kept walking around and we walked past a class of yoga. And the instructor was completely blind with her guide dog beside her.
I am Vivian Chong. Wellness is a very key component of feeling better about yourself. I developed accessible yoga courses with the CNIB, and I offer the program outdoor because I really understand the benefits of exposing yourself in nature and under the element.
I'm Maria, and these are my 12-year-old twin daughters.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Sophia. Vivian would go kayaking independently, and I remember one summer Olivia said, "Wow, Mom, Vivian has no sight, and look at all that she can do. She's absolutely amazing. If somebody who's blind can do something like that, I can definitely do it too."
Living with sight loss is not easy, and everybody cope with it differently and at their own timing. It was amazing to have a place that's safe and geared towards people with vision loss to go visit, and you can even bring your seeing eye dog.
From the get-go, the camp was pushing boundaries about what it means to be living with sight loss.
The camp was very new. So, all of these things were being explored and developed to see what was possible. And it turned out that more was possible than not.
Ripple's CNIB Lake Joe will return after the break. We now return to Ripple's CNIB Lake Joe. CNIB Lake Joe is a summer camp for people impacted by sight loss. It has been a leader in accessibility since it opened its doors in 1961, offering everything from tandem biking to water sports to so much more. Jim Sanders retired 10 years ago after a 40-year career with the CNIB.
You could be as independent as you wanted to be, more so there than anywhere else. And independence both in terms of being able to get around, but also independent in terms of your comfort level.
My name is David Best. Back in the 1960s and 70s, it was a very different time. We have a lot more freedom. It's created memories that I otherwise would not have experienced.
My name is Chris Chamberlain. During the 60s, the camp was more sort of, how should we say, freewheeling.
in that, they sort of said, hey, that's a great idea. Let's try it. Let's do it.
Since the 1960s, CNIB Lake Joe has been offering activities that people with sight loss might not ordinarily get a chance to experience, such as sailing and archery.
Oh, the archery program was amazing. They'd stand there about 100 yards away and clap, send the arrow in this direction. You'd hear them and they would set up targets.
My name is Jim Tokus. The first year I was up there, I had a totally blind fellow tell me, I'll take you out sailing. So he did. He dropped me off in the middle of the lake and gave me the handle of the boat and the ropes and said, here, you can take it back. So it scared me to death, but I learned fast.
One of the first groundbreaking activities that CNIB Lake Joe began to offer as early as 1972 was water skiing. Jim Sanders was one of the first water skiing instructors at Lake Joe 54 years ago.
I said yes without really knowing what I was going to be doing, and we experimented with various ways of teaching blind people to ski, and we came up with something that actually still works today. We worked with the individuals on the dock so that when we got in the waters and I would ski beside them, hold on to their elbow, talk to them a little bit, and away we went.
The exhilaration, the speed cutting across the water, learning how to just do some water tricks, jump the wake.
Wow, I never thought in a million years that would be something that I would be able to do. Oh my gosh, I was just so excited to try, but scared at the same time. And that was just incredible experience, an incredible experience.
Yeah! My name is Sean Dale. For a lot of us with visual impairments, the ability to take risk and to do things that we can do independently is fairly limited. The glow and the freedom that somebody had behind the boat, knowing that they were safe, they were moving fast, and they were doing something that not everybody could do, that was what I wanted to be part of.
Rather than highlight people's disability, Lake Joe is a place that highlights people's diverse ability. I think I quickly learned that everybody has the opportunity to succeed at whatever goal they're setting out for themselves.
I'm Angela Bonfanti, Senior Vice President for CNIB. The moment somebody learns the sequence of rowing, the moment somebody says, I've sailed for the first time, the moment somebody gets in a tube for the first time, and they walk out and their face is like, whoa. I mean, to witness that person now has just done something that they would have said would have never been possible. So ultimately, Lake Joe is about breaking through stigmas, not just for the individuals who participate in our program, but for everybody around them.
My name is Stephanie Wilsack, and I'm a former camp director in the 90s. I think it was a sense of normalcy for folks who struggled with barriers of doing anything that was fun. They probably had these sensations for most of their lives of, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that. And we didn't do that. We would send them out on a sailboat by themselves, and we would yell at them to turn left or turn right. They were safe, and we really cared for them, and we cared for the activities they wanted to do, and we never said no.
I'm Joshua Cook. I'm speaking from Nandi, Fiji. First time I ever came across Camp Lake Joe, I think I was about 11 or 12 years old, and changed my life completely. I started finding people who could really understand about how it is about being visually impaired. My visual impairment, it's called Stargardt's disease. So over the past about 5 years, I've lost about 100% of my central vision. I really thought that I was like the only visual impaired blind person because I never met anyone else with a visual impairment. I felt very alone. But when I went to Lake Joe, I got to meet so many wonderful people. Sailing means quite a lot to me. It has helped me through a lot of difficult times in my life. But when I went to Lake Joe, I met one of the guys, Coach Dave. He taught me everything. And because of sailing, I have had some crazy opportunities. I represented Canada for World Blind Sailing in Scotland. It's all because of him and all because of Lake Joe.
The camp was ahead of its time when it came to accessibility. In the early 2000s, the camp underwent a major renovation with many of its buildings replaced. But since the accessibility factor was so well thought out right from the beginning, the actual layout of the camp stayed exactly the same. Changes that were made actually came within the cabins themselves.
The difference between the 80s and now is partially because the physical building, it was old wooden cabins. Everybody shared the same bathroom at the end of the hall.
I first started attending the camp in, I believe it was about 1971. And one of the really wonderful features of the sleeping cabins as well was what they called a screened porch at the end, where those who were staying in the cabin could get together and chat.
My name is Derek Grundle. At night, a lot of us sit on the screened-in porches and have a drink and talk and stuff and snack.
And those screen porches still exist today.
And the team at CNIB Lake Joe has been continuously thinking of ways to improve upon the camp experience with accessibility in mind.
My name is Eugene Chong, and I am the general manager of CNIB Lake Joe. Since joining the team in 2017, there's been a lot of ambitious goals we've had for the property and for our programming here at Lake Joe. We're at the Rec Hall. It's a multi-purpose, multifunctional building. We do everything from art making to hanging out with friends. Additionally, we were awarded a Ontario Trillium Foundation grant to retrofit our dining hall and lounge with new acoustic treatments for our guests who have sensory challenges. The noise in the dining hall and lounge was one of the areas of concern. So Ontario Trillium Foundation, to make it more accessible, updated state-of-the-art technology to control the noise levels in that large space.
Over the years, CNIB Lake Joe has garnered the attention of surrounding cottagers and communities who have seen firsthand what an important place CNIB Lake Joe is. They have shown their support through donations, which have helped Lake Joe to achieve many of their dreams for the camp over the years. Nancy Simoneau and her family have been responsible for organizing the CNIB Muskoka annual fundraising events, such as the Dock to Dock Party.
Our family cottage is really close, and our son volunteered there a few years back. Changed him so much. The experience he had was just remarkable. This camp, just seeing how special it was and the impact I could have, it was just a great fit for us.
Without the fundraising efforts of dedicated volunteers and donors, the camp would not be what it is today. It has been a group effort to raise the money needed to keep the accessibility standards at Lake Joe high and create the inclusive environment they have become famous for. Sue Creasy has a long history with CNIB Lake Joe. Her grandfather was the campaign chairman of the original buildings at the camp.
There are photos that we have here in the office with my grandfather and my great aunt, with a number of other committee members, sitting around a table looking at draft drawings for Lake Joe.
Sue has been a huge supporter of the fundraising efforts at the camp and is a part of the Lake Joe Vision team.
I think it's a unique facility. It's the only one in Canada, and I think that we should be doing everything that we can to support it and keep supporting it.
One of the most unique donations came as a very special delivery.
A couple of summers ago, CNIB Lake Joe was delighted to receive a whole boathouse. It was floated up the lake from Lake Rosso on this huge barge. The family that donated it felt that it didn't suit their needs, and rather than tear it down, they put it out there, and CNIB Lake Joe jumped all over it.
We're here at the Boathouse Dock, another popular space and place at the camp. This is where people would come to go tubing, water skiing, or go get out on our pontoon boat to go on a cruise of our lake.
Most recently, they expanded to add many new outdoor spaces, including a brand new multi-sport court where people can engage in basketball, tennis, volleyball, and so much more. A climbing tower was also built thanks to donor support.
We're at the climbing wall here at Lake Joe, and it was newly constructed in the winter of 2020. We have yet to have people actually up on the wall, but we're looking forward to welcoming people back so they can engage in this new activity here.
And that's not all. A brand new accessible soccer pitch and mini golf is in the works.
I'm standing on the new sports field that's yet to be built. It is funded by the Synthetic Turf Council. We are the first Canadian organization in which they're supporting. Beyond the soccer pitch is going to be a fully accessible mini putt. This project is going to be completed by middle of July 2021. About smashing barriers and looking at accessibility, that's something we do at the core of our work. We really think about what it is that people want and need, and how do we deliver it to them.
After 60 years of summer fun, a global pandemic would change everything. CNIB Lake Joe staff were faced with the challenge of imagining how camp could continue in a whole new way.
The government of Ontario announced that summer camps were to remain closed for the summer of 2020. It was very difficult to hear.
Ripple's CNIB Lake Joe will return after the break. We now return to Ripple's CNIB Lake Joe.
Good morning, Lake Joe. The time is now 8:15 and breakfast will be served in the dining hall.
My name's Michelle Van Dyke. I'm Emma's mom. Even as an adult, it really is like summer camp for the family. We get up with the announcement and then we look at our itinerary, and then at 10 o'clock we have either swimming or we could do another activity. It really is like summer camp for the family, and it's great.
Now my mother comes with me, and that's her vacation. My mom looks forward to Lake Joe.
All my siblings definitely look forward to going to camp. Every time we would go, they would get very excited, almost as excited as me, I would say. It was kind of a family tradition for a while.
I'm Sarah Knipp, and this is my daughter, Avery.
A lot of my favorite things is how I got to meet new people and make friends.
It's our top thing. It's our top vacation, top experience. Look forward to it every year.
CNIB Lake Joe brings families together by offering activities and unique experiences that unite them in ways they may not have seen coming. Robert Froome and his brother David have been attending the Lake Joe camp together for 30 years. David was born blind, but at the age of 40, he became completely deaf as well. The brothers had been losing touch with each other with no real way of communicating.
It became increasingly difficult to even communicate the simplest things with my brother.
So when Robert was asked to accompany David to the CNIB Lake Joe Adults Week, Robert was a little skeptical, but after the first morning, his mind began to change.
For the first time, I met other deafblind people, and I saw how they were engaging with life and excited about going to camp.
The first morning that they were there, a camp intervener sat Robert down with a deaf-blind man named Wilford, who was going to teach him two-hand manual.
That was my brother's main method of communication, and he taught me two-hand manual. That's something I got on day one.
By day 3, Robert and David were enjoying all camp life had to offer.
One of my favorite pastimes at camp, David sits down at the piano, and so often it's just the two of us in this huge room, and he plays beautifully.
But it wasn't until David said something to Robert that made him realize the impact that this place had really had on them.
And he says, "Robert, you know what? This deafblindness isn't so bad after all." It flipped a switch for me. I realized something very important, that up until that point, I pitied my brother. And pity is not a very useful emotion or thought, because it puts limits on people. But at that moment, I realized that he's capable of a way more than I thought he was.
I am a single mother of 2 children. It was the first time I was able to bring my children on vacation by myself. I can't even tell you just how valuable that moment was for me. My entire existence up until that point, I lived a solitary life in a sense, because I was the only person living with vision loss. I didn't use a cane because I didn't want to be different. I wanted to be just like everybody else. Being at Lake Joe, it was like a warm hug. I felt like I could be myself. seeing some of the staff and campers using their cane with such ease and comfort, I started to really reflect on my life. It allowed me to evolve as a human being.
At Lake Joe, you were a person first and you were blind second or third. You were probably blind third. And you carry that with you. And you learn to associate with people, make them feel comfortable, and make that white cane disappear very quickly.
CNIB Lake Joe has a way of bringing people together. With such a tight-knit community, it's no surprise that there would be powerful bonds formed too.
My name is Taylor Gatto. This will be my 5th year working at Lake Joe. There's a lot of people with a lot of stories of them meeting their significant others at camp.
I know at least 20 former staff who met their spouse there.
And Jim is one of them. He and his wife Ann met in 1967 while she was in charge of the arts and crafts at the camp. And they'll be celebrating their 52nd wedding anniversary this year.
When you're working with somebody for 4 months straight, 24/7, you get to know them.
I met my fiance up there in 2007. She unfortunately is no longer with us, but the camp was a big part of her life too.
Even the younger generation is feeling the love.
I met my boyfriend Aaron 2 years ago when we worked together at Lake Joe. So we have a Lake Joe love story and we're still going strong.
And while there are many love stories that have come out of Lake Joe, more importantly, there have been lifelong friendships made.
Chris Chamberlain was one of the first young people I taught how to water ski.
Jim took me out on the dock, helped me put on my skis and said, let's go water skiing. And we did. And our friendship has continued to this very day.
Sean Darrell is one of my best friends that I had the opportunity to meet in July of 1986. We've also been a part of each other's wedding ceremonies, building our families together.
Our life has just kind of always been intertwined from Lake Joe on.
These strong friendships are a hallmark of CNIB Lake Joe that span over the decades since the camp opened. Alicia Chenier and Emily Sheevers have been best friends since the moment they met at camp.
Alicia is by far my very best friend. We really have a lot of similar passions that keep us together and never a dull conversation.
We live like 5 hours apart, I would say. So, Lake Joe has always been a place where we can connect every year. For me, Lake Joe has always been very near and dear to my heart, and the staff and the people there. We see each other every summer, but it always feels like we've never been apart kind of thing because of how close everyone is, even if you're just meeting them for the first time, because of that shared and lived experience.
Bill Vastus was a beloved camper, volunteer, and staffer at CNIB Lake Joe, who was known for bringing people together, especially with his music. Bill passed in 2019, but he will always be remembered with a tree on the property.
He was known for his music, and that's the reason why his tree is here by our campfire.
You can go to Lake Joe and it feels like the warmest hug because everybody there just wants to give love and they're so willing to accept love.
We really are the Lake Joe family. I know last year when we learned that we wouldn't be going to camp, there were a lot of tears shed because we couldn't be with our family.
With the pandemic locking down the whole country, what does this mean for Lake Joe?
If you had told me in March that we wouldn't have any camp offerings in the summer, I would have said that was the most unrealistic thing I've heard of.
Ripples, CNIB Lake Joe will return after the break. We now return to Ripples, CNIB Lake Joe. CNIB Lake Joe has been a bustling destination from May until September since it first opened its doors in 1961. But things looked a little bit different in the summer of 2020.
On May 19th, 2020, the government of Ontario announced that overnight summer camps were to remain closed for the summer of 2020. And obviously, it was very difficult to hear It was challenging for us because we had built up such a strong momentum from previous seasons to all of a sudden put everything on hold.
My name is Monique Pilkington. I'm the Executive Director for CNIB Lake Joe. So when CNIB was faced with the reality of the pandemic, we knew that there was absolutely no choice, that we had to rise up to the occasion and keep our community connected.
Lindsay Garrett was one of the staffers who would facilitate new ways of keeping camp alive.
I mean, we were tasked with the unimaginable of trying to take an in-person overnight camp and make it something that we could do online.
We really had to think about what makes camp special. And it's really about keeping people connected, and how can we do that in a time when we're not physically able to be together. We were able to use technology to launch our CNIB Lake Joe at Home program.
The coffee break was the first program that we started running.
I need my coffee this morning.
What's in the Yeti, Stella? Thought it was coffee.
Water.
Okay.
It's still happening today. We still have people coming every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. just to meet, to chat, to connect.
You know, we weren't sure if we needed to have something structured, but we really didn't need it. When people jumped on the call, it was as if they were just gathering on one of our porches here at camp.
I know it's not the same as being together in person, but it's a way to stay connected, and it does really feel good just to be able to check in with each other. That's the interesting thing about this. I probably talked more to these people in the last year or so than I ever did before.
We still have as many participants in the program as we did in day one, if not more. It really gave people that opportunity and that sense of connection in such a challenging period of time.
I'm so incredibly proud of the Lake Joe team because it would have been very easy for them to just shut down. And instead, we administered over 100 virtual programs, and the response was tremendous.
I'm Stella Trudeau. I am CNIB's Lake Joe's music specialist. What I love about Campfire Nights is people have really kind of turned it into a talent show as well, where they take turns singing a song and sharing a song with everyone. You know, kind of giving them that highlight of performing for everyone. Hey everyone, welcome to the Lake Joe Campfire. Are you guys ready to sing the Lake Joe song?
Yeah, all right.
Awesome. All right, here it goes. Welcome, Lake Joe friends. Music's in the air. Even though we can't be there, music's everywhere. So this is a Lake Joe song that I've written the music and words to. I really drew from, what makes it Lake Joe. And so, the pontoon rides and campfire nights and walks and getting to hear the waves and the sounds and the smells. The pontoon is so fun. It's fun for everyone. Sit back and relax and enjoy yourself while we're in the sun. Lake Joe has such a story for so many people. For me, Lake Joe is being able to share my passion with so many amazing people that I've met.
Spirits everywhere. Spirits everywhere.
Thank you. You really did an awesome job there. So
That's a good song.
Thank you. I'm glad you approve.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
In addition to the live virtual activities, the staff dreamed up other ways to reach campers across the country.
We were fortunate enough to secure funding through the Military Police Fund for Blind Children and create a Camp in a Box program for our youth participants.
Camp in a Box is essentially boxing up camp. So we packed up boxes full of activities and sent them out. And then that complemented with virtual programs where you're actually coming together on a Zoom call and getting that interaction that you would get at camp.
Some families like the Averys have only experienced the camp through the virtual programs.
Hi, my name is Ian. First we got a delivery of a big box.
It was full of all sorts of activities and treasures, and
games for them to do.
I'm Keegan. I'm Hudson. I'm Avery. I'm Laura. I'm Philip.
I'm the Connect family. We're very excited when we received the box. The first one included many different activities that we were able to all do together as a family. There was also a winter camp in the box. We made a little snowman with indoor snow.
Parents sent pictures. It was really incredible to see the kids doing their unboxing and opening their boxes and seeing what was inside.
What we found was a lot of those individuals were able to invite other people who are in their personal bubbles to come and enjoy and participate in our activities as well, really connecting the community to a greater degree.
We sent out over 100 boxes and had 60 unique participants in that program last summer.
Lake Joe has gone virtual this year, but it doesn't take away from anything. I think in fact, it's made us a lot stronger within our community because we have people from like Newfoundland, we have people from Ontario, British Columbia, Nova Scotia. It's been really fun connecting with everyone who has vision loss throughout Canada through this time.
It proved to be an amazing opportunity to stay connected and really pushed our creativity and what we can do online for our guests. And now it will be a forever addition to the program offering we do here at Lake Joe.
As successful as virtual camp has been, there's no comparison to the real thing.
Our entire team is just so anxious for the day that we can welcome everybody back to camp and to have everybody together in person. The virtual programs have really managed to keep people connected in a way that we've never been able to do before. It's still not the same though as, having everybody together in the dining hall and, sharing a meal together, the memories of, sort of that week or the day, what has happened. I'm really looking forward to that.
It's been great connecting with people virtually, but just to be able to see people in person and just connect with them on a different level. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to laughing and having those belly laughs around the fire and the belly laughs others get when they see me trying to do adaptive sports.
What I'm really looking forward to is welcoming people back to Lake Joe. We have so many wonderful activities and programs planned for people with new facilities. We just want to bring people back to be able to enjoy the space and connect in person, which I think will be vital, especially after these past couple of years we've had.
Ripples, CNIB Lake Joe will return after the break. We now return to Ripples, CNIB Lake Joe.
CNIB Lake Joe has stood the test of time through challenging times and benevolent times and happy times. It is something that will stay the course. People love it. It's life-changing for anyone that experiences it.
CNIB Lake Joe is a place for people with sight loss and their families. Accessible and inclusive programs foster personal growth while enriching lives, making memories, and building independence.
The impacts of Lake Joe in my life is just like sky high. There's not enough to say about Lake Joe. It's changed my life for the better, and it's made me the person I am today. My dream is to start like a sailing club. I want people who have low vision, who have disabilities, to come and learn how to sail.
For me, I think going to Lake Joe was a big part of learning how to be more accepting of my vision loss and myself. I also started public speaking at Lake Joe, and because of that, I have helped so many others, I guess, in a way, and shared my own experiences, which has been truly incredible.
Well, I think Lake Joe has impacted my life by the people that I've met up there.
Jim Tokus was a volunteer at Lake Joe from 1997 to 2019.
Because I was the coffee person in the morning, they made a special table. The program was called Jim's Tims, and I had a table with the name Jim's Tims on it, and that table is still there.
Lake Joe showed me what's possible. My kids were introduced to Lake Joe 5 years ago, and Sean also brought his kids up. My kids have been inspired to become a part of the Lake Joe community.
My children both, especially my eldest, she's 13, they both aspire to one day work there.
I think my experience as a camper will stay with me forever. I think even after my time working at Lake Joe, I think I might return as a camper and bring my family there, and I think it will be in my life forever.
Lake Joe has given me my independence as a mother. It's impacted me on a cellular level.
Like, I've benefited from camp just as much as my brother has. It's just such an empowering experience, and we just, thrive from the energy that it gives us.
While the country slowly begins to open up again, CNIB Lake Joe is piloting Holiday Weeks, an opportunity for guests to choose their own adventure and build their own experiences. Until camp fully resumes, CNIB Lake Joe will continue to keep everyone connected online through virtual programs as the camp marks 60 years.
The thing that I look forward to the most is always the water and the beach at Lake Joe.
I'm most looking forward to seeing campers. I don't know how I can go 2 years without seeing them.
I'm looking forward to going tubing. Getting my swimming lessons done.
I really look forward to getting to meet so many people and people that I've met virtually, but really just, get to give them a high five, or getting to hear everyone sing in person is going to be amazing.
Even though we weren't able to be there in person, we really do feel connected to the Lake Joe community and the staff, and we really hope that one day soon we'll be able to go out there in person.
We feel like we've been there already.
The experience that people have and the skills that they acquire at the magic that is Lake Joe, it just doesn't live and die at the camp. They're not episodic experiences. They will absolutely ripple through lives and touch communities near and far. We see that every day. There is the sense of empowerment that people have leaving the camp than they do coming in. And that's what leads them to independence. And that's what leads them to active lives and allows them to chase their dreams. And when you're chasing your dreams and you're getting it done, you're smashing stigmas. So that's the full cycle. That is what I hope all programs at CNIB can do. And I think, the more kids we get coming in at an age where they're still dreaming about what they want to be when they grow up, the better off they will be.
When you've been to the Lake Joe Center, it stays with you for a lifetime.
It's the best place on earth.
Producer, director, writer, Laura Lillie. Production manager, Carol Aishelman. Director of photography, Dave Woodside. Editor, Elise Rice. Narrator, Terry Kelly. Colorist, Martin Parega. Post audio, Eggplant Picture and Sound. Coordinating producer, Jennifer Johnson. Content development specialist, Karen McGee. Integrated described video specialist, Simone Cupid. Director production, Cara Nye. Director Programming, Brian Perdue. VP Programming and Production, John Melville. President and CEO, David Arrington. Summerhill Media, Inc. Copyright 2021, AMI Accessible Media, Inc.